Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Nine Hole Podcast. This is your host, Ian Miller. Today, I'm joined by ex-Major League catcher and great friend of the Nine Hole Podcast. He is a mainstay every single Wednesday as we talk about youth and amateur baseball. Nick Dini, what's going on, brother?
What's up, Mill? Thanks for having me on again, bro. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. We are live here on Instagram Live. It is a new world for us. It's pretty cool. Thank you, everybody, for joining. If you have questions in the chat, throw it our way. We'll try to get to them, man. I have no idea what's going on. We are live on No Filter. If you are tuning in on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, appreciate you listening. Thank you for tuning in. I would also love to give a shout out. I got the paper right here. Here we are. Love to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's stream, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the Cleveland Student Visionaries of the Year. Man, there is a 7-week challenge to raise funds for the fight against blood cancer. This year, 37 teams from local high schools in Northeast Ohio raised a whopping $1,053,209 in just 7 weeks to help find a cure for blood cancer. If you're watching this on No Filter or YouTube or Apple Podcasts, like I said, the link is in the description, in the bio, the banner. Check it out, man. It's for a great cause. Now back to the show. So, Danes, we talked last week about guest players in the youth space, and it caused a riot. There were a whole bunch of comments. A clip or two had obviously gone viral, man. We had a whole bunch of comments on there, a whole bunch of opinions, man. So you had brought to my attention, man, that there were guest players coming in for these travel baseball teams. And so it was news to me, obviously. I'm relatively new to the youth baseball space, the amateur baseball space, man. So that absolutely fucking blew my mind. That's nothing that I've ever experienced before, dude. We had an outrage on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, all that good stuff, man. We had a whole bunch of comments. Dude, wanted to talk about those comments a little bit and maybe compare and contrast recreational ball, rec ball, and then travel ball, dude. So obviously, like, travel ball is way more legit. Rec ball is kind of where I was able to experience baseball for the first time, not really worry about stats, try new stuff, man. What's your take on it, dude? Obviously, the landscape of baseball is shifting today, man. So does rec ball even play an importance anymore?
So I'm the same way. So like the whole landscape of how the youth side of things is set up is completely different than what I'm used to. So it's hard for me to sit here and say which way is better or worse. Like I know what my journey was and my path and what worked for me. And what I think is important is from a young age, just developing a love. And I've said this on this podcast before, like developing a genuine love for the game. And then that opens you up to wanting to invest into your own development. Too many times now, I think it's gotten to a place where, and we were talking before we got on about how I think kids at a 11, 10, 11, 12, age are starting to feel pressure by playing baseball. And I think it's a slippery slope because like we said, man, like I didn't start feeling pressure to play the game until 20 years old. But when it was time to like get drafted or potentially get drafted and then through your professional career, because a paycheck relies on you producing. So that was, nerve-wracking, and that's pressure. But like feeling that kind of pressure at 12 years old, I just don't think it's conducive to these kids learning and developing as they get older. And like, so back to the rec side of things, like right now, I think there should be something in place where if you play club baseball, so if you play for a team that is not compromised of only kids in your town, that excludes you from rec baseball. Like you cannot play rec. And I don't think, and then if you don't play rec, you can't play for your town travel team. So me growing up, dude, it was rec baseball. And then you played for your town travel team. You went into districts, states, like you see, with the Little League World Series, like that setup. Everything was from, our zip code. There was no going outside of our zip code to go get players to come play. The argument that I made as far as, guest players at 10, 11 years old is that it's more so for the parents and the kids, but you ask these parents to pay, you know, $2,000, say, for, you know, a season to play. And then it's, oh, we don't have enough kids. We're going to bring in this guest player. My son still doesn't get to play. And the message that got missed in all of this, and we were talking about this, is because I'm starting to second guess myself. And it's like, hey, am I coming off as like soft? And it's like, no, I was brought up on, hey, if you don't like your current situation, get better. But I also wasn't competing at 11 years old to worry about somebody coming in from another state and playing over me. Like, I learned how to play the game because I was able to fail at a young age and succeed. And through those successes, I started to want to invest into my own development. And then by the time I got to middle school, it was, you know, I was putting a lot of attention into getting better at baseball because of my youth experience and the like fun I had with my friends who I grew up with, who I went to school with, and we played sports together. We went to Cooperstown and had, you know, a trip that I'll remember the rest of my life at 12 years old. I don't remember much else from when I was 12 years old playing baseball. I remember the Cooperstown trip, and more so, I remember the time spent off the field during those Cooperstown trips. So I think we've gotten to a place where the club teams have to be completely separate from everything else. And if you play club sports, that's great. That you want to do that, that's fine. But that removes you from anything to do with your town. In my opinion, is how that should work.
Love it, brother. I agree with everything that you're saying. So my experience, dude, growing up, again, thank you to everybody that's joining in here on Instagram Live. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing here. It's great to see everybody. We got a bunch of people that are kind of joining in and leaving. Dude, we got some comments and stuff. IE Baseball Talk, appreciate you being here. Left a little comment, dude. So coaches bring in 5 fill-ins, and some get charged and some don't, and they take away the playing time of the actual players that are part of the team. Dude, absolutely. Absolutely, man. So rec ball, at least for me, was where I was able to kind of refine my skills, not worry about stats, dude. It played such an important part. Obviously, it's not sexy, dude. Playing little league when I'm 16 years old, 17 years old, that's not hot, right? But like, you go on YouTube and you look up my highlight video that I sent to all Division I teams when I was trying to get scouted, when I was trying to get recruited, and my mom shot that on the little league field, right? Like at my local Downingtown little league, right? It's dude, it is what it is. Obviously the landscape of baseball is shifting nowadays, dude. Players are able to make money in college, bro. If you play SEC baseball, there's something wrong with you if you're not making 6 figures. How insane is that to say? That's insane, right? There's obviously you get rewarded. There's entitlement stuff. I think that there might be some entitlement at the lower level. Obviously, if parents are paying a hefty fee to get in there, just because you pay the fee to get into travel ball doesn't necessarily mean you are going to be a starter, right? I get it, but I think that's where the rec ball comes into play. It plays an importance, man. If there's politics in travel baseball with all this money, that's tough for me. That would be tough for me to kind of buy in. I just got a comment, dude, earlier this morning from somebody out in Southern California. So this is a baseball mom. So check this out, dude. There's 6U baseball. 1, I didn't even know that there was 6U baseball. And 2, there's guest players and politics and 6U baseball. So thanks for shedding light on a specific issue with travel baseball. My son plays 6U, and they played last night in the International World Series Championship game in Southern California. We played against a team that we faced 3 times before. We lost once and we won twice. So the team we played against last night, however, was not the same team that we faced before. My son's team lost, and yes, like, it's on them. They made some errors, some bad plays. But however, during the opposing coach's championship speech, he gloated about flying in 4 players from different cities in Mexico just for the World Series tournament, and they won because of them. This is a 6U tournament, guys. What do we got going on here? So my son's team has stuck together all season long. It's really unfortunate to see them work so hard to lose against half a team, and some individuals, they banded together. I can't call them a team because they weren't. The coach didn't even know the 4 players' first names from whom he flew in. Couldn't even give them shout-outs in the post-game speech. Didn't know their names. Our kids had an outstanding record, man. I hope this issue raises some eyebrows and they put some regulations around it. So obviously, dude, we're seeing this now at the 6U level. We're seeing this at the 6U level. This is news to me, man. I think that's absolutely wild, dude. When you look back at some of the relationships you've had, Deans, in that rec ball coming up, what was kind of like the dynamic and environment there with the relationships you had, dude? Did you have better relationships with rec ball teammates and like coaches? Did they have a better impact on you as opposed to like the serious ball?
Yeah, well, and here's my thing. Like, I think there's like sectors to this, right? And we talked about this as well. It's like, when you're in grammar school, so up until, and for me it was sixth grade. Now I know some sixth grades are middle school, but like up until grammar school, like, yeah, those relationships, it was a way for me to get out of the house, and my mom could take me to practice, and I get to hang out with my friends and play baseball for 2 hours. And like that was it. That was the joy in it. And then it was like, you go to the field. After the field, you sit there, you take extra swings on the field, messing around, having a home run derby. We would play, I forget what was that game where like two guys in the mid, like there's guys in the middle and guys on each end. They throw the ball back and forth. You have to peg the guy. I forget.
Pepper?
So, yeah, something like that.
Wait,
no,
talking about like rundown?
Yeah, it's like
Pepper, dude. What?
Pepper's the hitting thing, but anyway, like those are the things that we would do, and I loved it. And this is my thing, dude. At a 6U level, right? Just to talk about what you're talking about, like I understand it when kids are in high school, okay? Because it's like, hey, I want to put my son with wherever his talent level is. I want him surrounded by people that are that or better. Right. So I get that at that level. You want to go to these national tournaments where there's going to be a ton of eyeballs on you. You've earned the right to be there. Like, you put up numbers, you've made a name for yourself. You're on those teams and you want to bring, people from all over the place to compete in these tournaments. Like, I'm all for that. When the issue that I have is when you're doing it at a 10, 11, 12U level, that makes everything about it not about the kids. And like, that is what you are supposed to be doing as coaches at this level, is make it about kids and their development and growing the game, making them fall in love with it, so that when they move past you, right, and they go on to play school ball or wherever it is that they go, they want to be there. And they've came up on that idea of, I just enjoy this, so I want to put my time, energy into this thing, right? So when you see it at a 6U level, it just says, hey, I'm interested in growing my business, because that's what it is. It's a business, right? I'm in the travel ball space. And if I can take an Instagram photo holding a banner and say, hey, look, we won our tournament, that brings eyeballs to my organization. I have more kids show up at tryouts. I have more kids interested in that deposit that comes in the beginning of fall, spring, and summer, which directly affects me. And that's where my interests are. It's not about the kids. It's about everything else. So that's where my issue is. When you get to high school, dude, like, the cream rises to the top. Like, you are going to be where you are. And if you don't like where you are, get better. It's as simple as that. But you cannot kill a kid's drive at 10 years old because winning that tournament benefits you. And now that kid who just got looked over is now he doesn't play. So it's like, okay, well, you just lost that kid. Now you have no idea how good that kid could have been because you just gave up on him at a 10U, at a 6U level. You know what I mean? I can't understand it. I can't understand it. But the rules completely change when you get to high school, because that's what I was talking about before, bro. Is like, I don't want to get things twisted with how me and you operate and kind of where we've come from in our journey to sit here and say, hey, like, participation trophies. Like, no, I was the guy that was looked over and worked my ass off to tell every coach that ever said you can't do it or you're not good enough, fuck you. Like, that's who I am. So I'm not about participation trophies, but when a kid is 10 years old and you are trying to tell them, like, this tournament win is more important than growing a love for the game for this kid, that I am trusted by parents to, like, Parents trust me to help their kid and guide their kid and aid their kid in their development. And as soon as I have an opportunity, I'm going to fly this dude in to like come help us win a tournament. That's my issue.
100%, brother. 100%, dude. We got some other comments here in the chat of parents that have experienced the same thing, dude. So let's see. Highlight reel photography. This is such an issue here in Florida. It's the absolute worst shit I've seen. Never had issues like this when I coached in Minnesota, man. So that's nuts. Man, highlight reel photography. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for the comment. It's wild, bro. Obviously, like Florida is a hotbed for baseball. So I'm sure if there's some BS going on, it's probably at the forefront, whether it's out in Cali or if it's out in Florida. You know what I mean? Those are the hotbeds for baseball, bro. Dude, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Hopefully there's some, structure in place that it gets resolved a little bit. Yeah. Oh, wow. So i.e. baseball talk right here, dude. Organization and some coaches are con artists. And yes, it's getting worse by the day in Southern California. It's bad. So this is obviously happening on a monumental level out there on the West Coast. By doing that as a coach, you lose your integrity because these kids are already made. It seems like kids don't play lead-up sports or non-organized baseball type games like stickball, wiffle ball, or slap. They're losing tons of development because of it. Ooh,
I love that. I love that. Everything is too organized. Kids are meant to be out in the wild and just go and do what kids do. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I say all the time, man. Like growing up, I got home from school. I dropped my backpack off and it was like the 12 kids on our block all got together and did some form of sport, whether it be, street hockey, basketball, like tennis ball, baseball in the cul-de-sac. Like we were doing that daily. Definitely. You know what I mean? It was every single day. And like, you don't see that. And it's relied upon to, go join these teams so your kids can get out there and do something. And I get it. I understand it. You want your kids to be a part of it. But I also with that, isn't there something to those kids have never been to a practice with this team? Like these kids are like going through the ringer through a whole season and you get to a championship game and we're just bringing in these dudes that nobody on the team knows. They haven't been to a single practice, but again, it goes to just how this whole thing is set up, man. It's all set up for the individual. Like you don't see much team aspect of anything anymore. It's
for sure. It gets kind of lost in translation.
Yeah, it does. It's secondary. It's secondary to, what's going on today, but it's all relevant. It's all relevant and it all plays a factor.
So we are preaching to kids, talking about kids, right? So like amateur baseball players, man, I'm talking probably before you get to high school, right? I would consider that amateur, right? We had this discussion, like obviously high school is amateur baseball, but you start getting to that level and that's where the stats matter. Obviously, like on your middle school team, dude, if we were talking about it, if you're not one of the best 9, you're not going to be in the lineup. That's when the shit matters. So we are preaching, dude, we got a 6U team that just won with 4 imported players for the weekend from Mexico, and they just won. They're getting rewarded for that, which I understand, dude. Competitive baseball, like the guest players, I get it. Like if there are no rules that are kind of in place to keep that shit in check, then people are going to expand on the rules, dude. People are going to continue to try to like test the boundaries until that there are firm boundaries in place, dude. So we're trying to teach kids that, baseball is a team game. It's a team sport. You need to band together in order to win and like win a championship. But really, dude, you just bring in other guest players to win. So we're trying to raise these kids up and raise them in the game. And we're teaching them that. They get to the high school and college level where the shit starts really mattering. And it's like, well, man, I've never had to like play for my team before. It's all been about me. You know what I mean? Like that's what I've been rewarded for. Yep. How are we supposed to teach these guys to win, dude? It's crazy. It's nuts.
And the game looks a lot different because of it. And it's evident, man. There's little things about the game that it's just like, I saw it at the high school level, just things that it's like, how the hell are we doing that? And because I don't know if kids know how to play the game. And another thing too is like we were talking about in the comments, and it was like get them ready for the real world. It's like,
the workforce.
These are kids. They're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Let's get them ready for the real world.
Yeah,
Like,
come on, brother.
get out of here, man.
Come on,
Get
brother.
out of here. Get out of here with that. And like I said, man, if they are on a team, right? If you get 12 kids on a team, everybody gives their deposit. My son's not one of those 12 best. Then I look at my son, I'm like, hey, buddy, you got to work harder. Got to be better. This is what you got to get better at. And, just you go to work. And it's as simple as that, right? It's a whole other beast when it's like, no, this kid's not not like part of those 12. They're just bringing in, dudes from out of state to come play in these youth level tournaments. It's just, I don't understand it. And I don't know how with like a healthy conscience, you're like, yeah, this is okay. And this is the right thing to do. It's not, man. And we've talked about this too, man. Like, especially at that age, you don't really know how good a kid is going to be. And in my opinion, like, if you destroy that kid at 10, 11 years old, then who the hell knows what he could have done or how good he could have been or what you hear stories like this all the time of dudes developing later and figuring something out at a later age. But like, they don't even get that opportunity because at 10 years old, like my coach was preparing me for the real world. And at 10, I wasn't ready to realize what the real world was. Yeah, so I just took what he said and it's like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to go try to play lacrosse or join a math club. I don't know.
The math club, dude. I love that.
Who the hell knows?
I love that, dude. So yeah, man, it's like I said, dude, we had a lot of comments, man, some outrage about it in a good way, in a positive light, getting some frustrations out. Obviously, this is a prevalent issue in the youth baseball space. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in live, dude. We got Kyle Morrison from Wagner Baseball back in the day, a couple years older than me. He said, "What's up, boys? Holding it down for the WAG. Love your content. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in." JS9 Innings, big baseball account, dude. Josh, what's up, brother? Good to see you in here. We got Tommy Birch, one of the beat writers for the Cubs. He's a dude with the Cubs. So okay, so we got somebody else here. Now, on the other hand, out here in SoCal, high school, there was like 6 kids that I know that had good ground game and good development, but because of the parents that are dropping money, aka boosters, parents and coaches had to take care of them. Ooh. So they had to favor kids because their parents had deep pockets, is what you're saying. Baseball talk, I believe. Do that, which is crazy, man. It's really crazy. Fuck, Ty Bordy, appreciate you tuning in, brother. Deans, man, to kind of wrap this up, obviously, like the 9-Hole podcast, dude, we're aimed at providing insight and info to the next generation of baseball players, dude. We're going to continue doing this live, I think, every week. So every week, boys, here on Instagram Live, we are going to be here at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So we are live on No Filter. We're live here on Instagram Live. It's fantastic. Mind-blowing. Deans, what would you say was your approach, man? If you could kind of give us like a little brief synopsis, man, of maybe what you were thinking at the plate, dude. I wanted to hit fastball. I wanted to sit on fastball. That's what I trained. I trained in the cage. Off the machine, dude. My BP, like my timing's on for fastball. I'm hunting fastball. I'm hunting fastball middle, dude. What was your like approach, man, to kind of like kick us off?
Yeah. So I was the same thing. Like I was hunting a fastball middle. And I was just going to try to get good swings off the heater. And as you see it, man, like, and obviously this was more prevalent like throughout my professional career, but every level that you moved up, like you moved up because you could handle the fastball. You didn't see many guys that were, making their way up the ladder in the professional ranks and they didn't hit the heater. Like those guys handle the fastball. You have to be able to handle the fastball. And then it was funny because then I got to the big leagues and the fastball is different. Like some dudes just like I remember facing Zach Wheeler, dude, and he threw me a like 0-0 heater. And I was telling myself, like, all right, you're getting a heater, dude. Sell out. And if he throws you a slider, like who gives a shit? Like you hadn't played in 3 days. You're facing Zach Wheeler. Good luck. And threw me a fastball, dude. I hit it out of the catcher's glove. And I'm like, it was like, it just looked so damn different. And I'm like, this is the heater that now you have to hit. And I wasn't at that time. I was not hitting it. And it's like, I'm not going to have any success if I'm not handling number one. You know what 100%. I mean? And I always felt like the best that I ever the best I ever was, like, I was taking care of the fastball. And then the other stuff, it's like you're going to hit mistakes. I tell kids all the time, when you start getting older and dudes are getting nastier and nastier, you're not hitting nasty sliders. Like those, like people, you want to talk about, driving a, 87-mile-an-hour slider down and away into the off gap. Like, yeah, that's a great thought, but in reality, it doesn't happen unless you're sitting on it and you're selling out for it. But
For sure.
I mean, my approach, dude, was always the fastball. All the work that I did in the off season was like trying to hit velocity and trying to tinker with that velocity and adding elements to it, like moving up, moving back, angling a machine, setting up different angles, just trying to add a lot of variance to what I was doing and figuring out a way. You know what I mean? Like dudes are throwing from different angles, different arm slots, high, low, submarine, whatever the hell it was. But I was always just trying to change angles, but it was on the heater and figuring out angles as to how I needed to attack the baseball or what my approach needed to be for, this two-seam guy that throws from this angle, whatever it may be. But it was always on the heater. And then with two strikes, it was just battle.
Yeah.
Like find a way. Don't strike out. I came up on the premise of like, you don't strike out.
Dude.
And
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's where, and I get it. The game's at a different place now, but like, that's just how I was brought up. Like two strikes, just find a way. And I had a coach in AA that always talked about like a 2-strike approach as like throwing out potentials, like striking out, there's no potential. Like who gives a shit with 2 strikes, what it looks like? Give yourself a chance, throw enough potentials out there that they fall. You know what I mean?
That.
So that's what, that's kind of how like the 2-strike mindset for me was, just throw out potentials.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. I just kind of like wrapping up here, dude. Again, thank you everybody for being here. We got a couple comments in here, man, with good stuff, guys. Any chance you want to bring a live guest on? Hey, Tyler, appreciate you. I have no idea what I'm doing on here. So maybe we talk about this next week, dude. This is all new to me. Appreciate you guys tuning in here. Dean's like, I had trouble with the 2 strikes, bro. But I wanted to sit on a fastball because if I could sit on the fastball and be on time for the fastball, I had a chance on his other shit. So like, dude, if I'm sitting on a changeup or I'm sitting on a curveball, you have no chance for a fastball. So like when a pitcher, when it's a 2-0 count, 3-0 count, obviously 2-0 count might be a little different, but 0-0 count, first pitch of the game, or a 3-0 count, you got to throw a strike. I mean, the highest % chance that you are getting a certain pitch is going to be a fastball, right? Like that's the best chance that you're probably going to get. Why wouldn't you sit on it? You have a chance to react to everything else. Like you said, bro, you're not going to hit a pitcher's pitch, his wipeout fucking slider, maybe even if you're sitting on it, right? Because that's his pitch. So I love everything you're saying, man. See you next week, my dude. Bordy, thank you for tuning in, brother. I appreciate all you guys. Deans, I don't know, man. Maybe that's something we dive into a little bit more next week too, with the 2-strike approach. Maybe diving into other approaches, man.
I mean, it's and my opinion too, just to kind of give a little like segue into what we could talk about, but the approach needs to change, because at the end of the day, you need to know what the guy on the mound is trying to do. What are his strengths? You have to stick to your strengths as a hitter, of course, but you also have to have an idea of how this guy is going to attack you. You know what I mean? Like, and I say it all the time, and I tried to implement this with guys at the high school level this year. Was like, if you get a guy with a good heater, the good heater really beats you up top. Like you'll be able to handle, the one down. Like I've seen dudes with bad swings handle fastballs down. I at times in my career had a really bad swing, but I was able to handle the heater down. So like when you face velocity, kind of trying this like bulletproof the top of the zone. You know what I mean? So like I would set the top and like I'm only hunting anything below it. Like I cannot go above this because I know if I go above this, he's got me. And then it just opens me up for everything else. And what I noticed was it helped me lay off like bastard sliders in the dirt when I was behind with 2 strikes. But I knew they were trying to go either out of the zone up or out of the zone down. So if I could just set the top and then try to hunt below that, like that was an approach that really helped me. So a lot of it too depends on what the guy on the mound is doing. So, and we've talked about this on here, right? watching the game because you don't get these advanced scouting reports at lower levels, but you can learn a lot from watching the game. And nowadays, when you're in high school and you're in these perfect game tournaments, you just go to their perfect game page and it'll show you everything you need to know on them. So there is somewhat of an advanced scouting report. So you take that advanced scouting report and you formulate a game plan around what this guy is going to do. You cannot take the same approach into every single game. Like, obviously for me, it was like, okay, I want fastball, middle, but that approach changed. You know, what guys that are throwing sinkers, like I had to raise that up a little bit. If I was hunting middle heater, that ball's sinking below this, like to the bottom of the zone, I was pounding it into the ground. So there's a lot of nuance and ways to go about formulating your plan and approach for a game. And a lot of it is just dictated off what that guy on the mound is trying to do to you.
Love that shit. Didgeridoo, what's up, Jonesy? Thanks for being here, brother. Deans, that's all I got, dude. I'm a little overwhelmed with all the cameras that we got kind of pointing at us right now. I'm trying to like fucking man all this stuff. Dude, that's all I got. So we'll plan on touching base again next Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll go live. Again, I appreciate everybody tuning in here on IG Live, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, whatever, No Filter, all that stuff, man. It's awesome. We'll rely on you guys in the comments, in the post moving forward, in the messages moving forward on what we can be doing different. Before I get out of here, I obviously need to highlight, dude, check out the merch. Be honest, it's pretty sick. Appreciate my mother-in-law for making that happen, and she knows what she's doing. So that's all I got, Deans. Brother, is there anything else you'd like to leave off with, dude, before we get out of here?
No, I'm good, man. We got it covered. Covered some basis of participation trophies being thrown our way. So I wanted to nip that in the ass because that's the furthest thing from the truth. But other than that, it's like you get 12 kids to sign up for your team, ride those boys out. Don't go to the waiver wire looking for help, looking for ammunition.
Love that shit.
Coach better.
I love that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We will catch you guys next time. Deans, thank you, brother.
All right, Mel. I'll talk to you.
Yes, sir.